and I see this flash of light out ahead of me. I'm like, whoa, there's a big light. And I turn around and I look back, and this trophy truck is a long way behind me, but the lights are so stinking bright that I can see them. Good night. So I keep going. I remember my friends are like, dude, when you see trophy trucks, just get out of their way, because they're crazy drivers. I mean, most of them are super wealthy. A lot of them are not old, like racers, like per se. I mean, they may be racers now, but they're not racers like we are racers. They didn't grow up doing this necessarily. They just have a lot of money, so they buy a trophy truck. So they're not that respectful, honestly. And that's not all. A lot of them are wonderful people. Larry Rossler is a great guy to have come up behind you. There's lots of guys that are great. And I see the truck coming. It's getting closer. Finally, it's like relatively close. I pull out of the way, and it goes whoosh by at a crazy speed. I mean, who knows? Probably 100 miles an hour. It's a pretty open section. And dust like I can't describe. I mean, it was a complete whiteout of dust. Boom, instantly, no vision. And I'm sitting on the side of the trail anyway, I'm not going. And I'm like, well, so I wait. And wait. The dust clears. I fire the bike up, get going. More and more trophy trucks keep coming, right? So I'm going, and I mean, at this point, there's not a ton of them, it's just the leaders. And so, another guy comes by, and I remember this guy going by, and I'm getting further down, getting closer to San Ignacio, which is about the halfway, a little past halfway of the race. I'm getting close to there, and I look up and I see a trophy truck that had already passed me, and I'm getting closer to it. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. I maybe stop or something. Then, I'm getting closer, and all of a sudden I realize he's pulled off on the side of the trail, lights on, and I'm going to pass him, and I get there, and I have one of these moments, like this sarcastic moment. I pull up, and I look inside the cab. I'm on my dirt bike, and I pull up, I look in there, I'm like, you guys need any help? And clearly something's broken on their truck, right? I mean, otherwise they'd be gone, like the next the next freaking time zone by now. And you guys need any help? And they wheel around and look at me and start swearing and lots of curse words. I'm like, all right, never mind. I take off. Oh my gosh. So it was one of those moments, like, I was really feeling pretty defeated up until that point, because I realized I was not as cool as I thought I was. The bike setup wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. I'm not riding very well. I'm really struggling. And I was getting pretty beat down, and I'm thinking, like, I don't know if I'm going to do this. I don't know if I'm going to finish it. And I have that moment where I smart off to these guys, and it, like, bolstered me a ton. It made me feel so good about myself. I'm like, yeah, I got this. And if those guys aren't finishing, or maybe not, I don't know, but they're definitely broke down on the side of the road with no one near them to help. So I'm like, all right, so I feel way better. And I take off, I get to San Ignacio, and I'm coming in, I know my chase crew's going to be there again. And I pull in, and they're there, and you can see the look on their eyes, because when I had seen them at El Crucero, they were super concerned for me, because I was not doing well, and I was really struggling. Now I pull in, I'm like, I gotta let them know that I'm okay. With my attitude, I gotta be better. So I pull in, I get off the bike, and I'm like, how's it going, man? I'm like, it's good. And this trophy truck comes by while we're in the pitch, in a million, and I'm like, whoa. And I look at him, I'm like, every time I see one of those trophy trucks go by me, I can only think one thing, and they kind of look at me, and I'm like, that guy's a huge pussy. And I know it's not the greatest word, but and they all start dying laughing, right? Because they know I'm back. Like, my attitude's back. I'm good. I mean, the bike is still killing me, but whatever. So I blast out of San Ignacio. It's craziness. Out of there is actually big, long, really fast sections. Some really kind of fun, mellow sand whoops that are actually cool. Go along. You go by this big bay, this lagoon, and it goes out to the ocean eventually. And I remember coming around this turn, and there's a class 1 buggy, so the unlimited guy, one of the unlimited buggies, they're off on the side of the trail, missing one complete right rear axle and wheel. Just gone. It's like gone. It's like augered in. I mean, the guy's out screaming and yelling into a satellite phone. He's upset. So I pass him, keep going, and the sun comes up. I get to Loretto, and my friends are there. They hand me a satellite phone. I didn't have one. They had one. They borrowed from a friend. Like, here, Ruth, you gotta talk to Ruth. So I talked to Ruth. I talked to my wife. She's like, how you doing? I'm like, I'm good. I'm like 700 miles in, 750, something like that. And I leave Loretto and go up. And like I mentioned before, there had been a hurricane that had come through the country earlier. And we're going down this section. It was actually a section we didn't pre-run because of it didn't make sense, like time-wise. We didn't have the time to pre-run it. We come down this section, and we ended up this river. And so the hurricane had come through and blown this river out. And the river had, in turn, blown this road out. I mean, I'm talking blown this road out. And we ended up crossing this river because the road was back and forth and all these bridges were all out, and just, it was craziness. We ended up going across this river something like 70 times in 40 miles. I mean, check my map. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that's what Anna said. I don't know. It felt like 4 million times in 40 miles. And it's crazy rocky. It's nuts. It's like you can't even describe it, right? So I'm just trying not to crash. I just like hoping not to crash the thing. Go, and I pull up to this, probably the biggest river crossing of the whole thing. I'm looking at it, and it's big. I mean, it's really wide. It's not very deep. It's super wide. I'm like, I don't even know where to go, and I can see the road on the other side. I'm like, okay, I gotta get there. And I'm just kind of psyching myself up, trying to scout the best line. And up comes this buggy. I don't know, not a class 1. It's like the other guy, the slow guys are starting to catch me now. Pulls up, he's revving his motor. I'm like, So I get out of the way. He goes out and he starts to cross this river, and he's in a super duper hurry, right? So, because he's racing. And he's going across, and he sinks the thing. Like, his back tires just sink. He's got 2-wheel drive, and it just stops. No motion. Tires are spinning, water's going everywhere. But this thing is going nowhere. And these guys are in it. I'm like, whoa. And then I look off to the side, and you can kind of see it wasn't super murky water. I'm like, well, I'm going to go there. So I ride, and here I come. Here's this crazy expensive buggy, like parked here, tire spinning, and here comes this $2,500 XR 650, and I pass him. It was the best. I passed these guys. I'm super stoked. Again, getting my spirits up, super happy. I pass the guys, I get through it. I'm like, oh my gosh, so scary, right? Because I didn't want to dump it. Go on, whatever. Cross another river, and there's this guy, and he's on an XR 650, but he's got his bike laying on its side on the other side of the river, and he like waves me down. He's like, hey, as I get across. I'm like, what? He's like, you have a spark plug wrench for an XR? I'm like, you don't? Because I had tools, I had everything with me, and he's like, no. I'm like, well, he's like, I drowned the thing. I gotta get the spark plug out, get the water out of it. I'm like, well, it's my spark plug wrench. He's like, I just need help. I'm like, fine. So, no. So I'm like, this is stupid. So, I'm laughing, Ray. I mean, it's crazy. So I pull out my fanny pack. I had a fanny pack. I pull it off, pull out the spark plug wrench and ratchet, and I hand it to him. And it's on this, like, my favorite snap-on ratchet. And I'm like, hand it to him. I'm like, here you go, dude. I want this back at the end of the race. And he's like, you bet. So I'm like, yeah, right. Like, I'm going to see him. So I take off. I'm out of there. Ride, go, meet my guys for the last time, about 100 miles from the finish, actually a little less, and they're like, all right, dude, you got this thing, you got it, down to the last leg, you're good. I'm like, okay. So I take off, and you gotta understand, the sun's going down, but I'm really not paying too much attention to that. I'm just focused on finishing. And I've taken the big light back off of my bike and put the stock one back on. That really is not even as good as a normal stock light. It's just pitiful. And I put it back on for the daylight. I take off with that still on the bike, not thinking that it's going to get dark, because I figure, oh, we're almost done. Well, I take off, I'm going, and the largest silt beds of the entire race are ahead of me. And I kind of forgot that, even though I pre-run that section. I also didn't take into account how horrible they were going to be after a whole bunch of trophy trucks and class 1 buggies and other buggies and bikes and all the pre-run, all the folks had been, how much worse these things were going to get. I get there and it's like a sea of silt. As far as you can see, side to side, as far out there, like, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So I go into the thing, and to say I struggled is putting it so mildly. I can't even describe the struggle that happened. And I mean, it's out of control. Now the bike, the chain has gotten so loose on the bike, and the silt is so thick and gnarly that it's packing into the chain, and the front sprocket is skipping on the chain because the silt's packing into the thing, and it's loose enough that the chain's skipping as I get deep into the silt. I mean, it's terrifying. I'm like, ah. I get through it, I get out, and I'm now at that goat trail again, right at the top of it, and it's getting dark, like really dark, and I got basically no light. So I pull over, and the light that I do have, I mean, it's shining, but it's aimed straight up in the air because I didn't really worry about it. Like, it's the old headlight mask and everything, and I was like, no big deal. But it's aiming straight up in the air, so I can't, not only is it a terrible light, I can't see anything because it's aiming up in the air. So I stop again. The second time out of the whole race that I ever pulled my fanny pack off to get a tool out, I pull a screwdriver, a Phillips head screwdriver out, and I'm adjusting the light. It up rides this guy on a CRF 450 with a big headlight on, and he stops. And he looks at me, and I look at him, and I wave him on. I'm like, I'm okay, and I'm like, I'm not hurt, just go on. And he like motions me to go ahead of him. I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? I'm good. Like, just go. And I'm stoked at this point because I feel like I'm gonna get this done, but I'm also like pretty defeated because my light's bad and there's no way to get the light from my gun. You know, this is gonna be miserable getting down off of this thing. And he's waving me on and he won't leave. He refuses to leave. So fine, I get the headlight aimed-ish, get back on the bike, and I ride, and he just pulls in behind me and gives me light. So I'm back in the exact same situation I was during pre-run with Anna, but now it's a stranger. And the whole time he hasn't said a word, not one word out of his mouth. And I'm like, okay. So he follows me down this goat trail the whole way. The whole cavern thing is still there. I went around it this time. I was going a little slower. And I'm, going down. I get down. I mean, seriously, honestly, the only reason I was able to make it down probably safely without crashing is because of this guy. If he hadn't been there, I probably would have eventually made it, but it would have been with lots of crashes. And who knows, I may have broken the bike or myself. I don't know. So I get down. It's thanks to him. And I stop. There's my friends. They're sitting there. They're so stoked to see me because, like, they were not sure I was going to make it. They realized the whole light situation too, and they're like, oh no. They're stoked. I stop. I get off the bike. This guy pulls up that had been following me with his light. I look in his goggles, and he's Japanese. He's Asian. Turns out he's Japanese, and he's also soloing the thing, but he's from Honda. Like, he's from Japan in Honda, and he's there soloing it to, like, fulfill his dream of being part of the Baja 1000. And I look at him, and I'm like, thank you so much. He can't speak a word of English. I give him this huge hug. I mean, I can't, like, I wanted to, like, kiss him. I love the guy so much. He saved my butt. And I get back on the bike, and he, like, motions me to go ahead of him. Now I'm on pavement. It's pavement all the way in, right? There's no big deal. Like, there's lights on the side of the road. It's not a big deal to not have much of a light. And I'm like, no, you get to win, dude. I don't win in this. I'm not going across the finish line ahead of you. course, he doesn't understand that, and I'm like, no, and I just stop, basically. He finally goes past me. And so I'm like, did you get to go across the finish line first? We go down, and it's like the experience of crossing that finish line, knowing that you've just soloed the longest point-to-point race in North America, and that you did it in time, and that everything worked out, and you're not dead, the bike's still working. The feeling of elation is second to none. Because you cross the line, and even though I am like so far behind so many people, I mean, I'm slow. I am so far behind so many people. There is a giant crowd of people there at the finish line cheering and screaming, especially for the motorcycles. And they're like, yeah, you feel like you just won the thing. I mean, it's so cool. You cross the line, and they want your goggles, they want signatures, they want autographs, they want pictures taken with their kids. I got pictures, I don't know where they are, of me, like, arm around some little baby sitting on my... Now, pictures of me with a little baby sitting on my dirt bike and my arm around a little Mexican baby. And I'm like, yeah, I'm signing people's t-shirts. I mean, they don't know who I am, and they don't know that I'm, like, 1/1,000,000th on the list of finishers, but they don't care. It's so stoked. Like, they're so excited, so happy. They love that race down there. And, you know, finally my chase crew, they had to go park along with it. They come up and they're freaking out. They're like, I can't believe you did it. It's so awesome. And I was done. I was done that night. And to say I was finished is hard to even say. I mean, I was so over it. And it ended up being, quick stats, 36 hours racing that motorcycle. I mean, obviously I stopped, ate, things like that, but no sleep. Didn't really stop for all that long anywhere, maybe an hour at one of the stops because I was so tired and beat up. So 36 hours on a motorcycle, 1,047 miles. I can't describe it. It was crazy time, absolute crazy time. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I don't know that I'll ever do it again. It's an awful lot of money, an awful lot of risk to take now that I have 2 kids, a business, a wife, all that stuff. It was a huge risk that I probably shouldn't have done with a baby at home that was 3 months old, but hats off to my wife, Ruth, who let me go, encouraged me the whole way. Didn't just let me go. She was cheering for me. You know, she's an amazing woman. It was crazy. And another little thing that I have to mention, because I know that someone's going to mention it, is that Anna Cody, who I had pre-run with and we're very good friends now, beat me by 3 hours. 3 hours she beat me, okay? That is a significant amount of time. She actually finished while the sun was still up, and I did not. So, but I am man enough, and I am still happy and proud of what I did anyway. But she absolutely kicked my butt, and it was amazing. You know, if any of you guys out there are interested in doing something like that, comment below. I would be happy to help you, give you any kind of advice, tips, things I have. It was the craziest thing. I mean, it's crazy. I would also warn that if you decide to do it, just know it's going to be one of, if not the hardest thing you've ever done in your entire life. And I've done a lot of hard stuff. There'll be more story times from earlier in my life, before motorcycles, things that I did that were also super hard, but nothing like that. I mean, it's crazy. So yeah, there it was, you know, it was cool. I got to stand at the awards ceremony. I got to stand on the stage in front of everybody as they gave me my Ironman trophy and thank my buddies who had come and chased me the whole way. And, you know, in front of this crowd of all these people is the coolest experience. And yeah, I'm stoked. It was awesome. I hope you guys liked that story time. I know it was a long one, spread out over lots of episodes. I hope that's interesting to you. If you want to hear any more about that, comment below. I got lots more stories about the whole situation, almost getting run over by trophy trucks, things like that happen. it just takes a long time to trigger all those memories. It's been a long time. 2006 is 13 years ago. But yeah, it was great. Thanks, guys. I hope I've earned your subscription. If I have, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That means a lot. Also, get the notification bell clicked because, you know, we're going to keep cranking out content. I think it's good content. We're kind of going after some of those other big dirt bike channels out there. Just a little guy, just like I was when I was soloing 1,000. Just a little guy with no money, trying to do something good and something big. Thanks, guys. Have a great day, and please go ride your dirt bikes!